Hey guys, good good afternoon everyone. This is Viper Strike 95 and today I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday. And today we'll be doing episode 15 of my adventurous baseball series Play Ball. So, Play Ball for this week, we'll be taking a trip. We're going to leave Milwaukee and we're going to be on our way to Minneapolis, Minnesota, in St. Paul, the Twin Cities of Minnesota. We're going to be visiting the Minnesota Twins, and on our way there, we'll be even taking a bit of a visit to Oshkosh here in Wisconsin. So for our plan for our flight today, we'll be taking off here from Whitman Regional. We're going to be taking off here at Lawrence J. Timmerman Airport. We're going to go all the way and fly all the way to, we're going to pay a visit Oshkosh. We'll do a touch and go in Oshkosh, and we'll explore the airport around here. Then once we do that, we will be making our first stop here at Appleton on the bank of Lake Winnebago. Then we will take the longest leg, 132 nautical mile flight. We'll make our way here to Chippewa Valley Regional, located in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And then finally, the last leg of the flight, we will be making our way here to both Minneapolis and St. Paul. So we'll be making the trip there. We'll be paying a visit the home of the Twins at Target Field, but also a few other locations too, including the University of Minnesota. And we even get a chance to fly into the Mall of America. We might even pay that a visit as well. So I want to see everyone in the chat. I want to welcome all the viewers. Welcome Alec D in the chat. And Martel, I see you that you're on the ground there, Martel. Good to see you around here. So I know a lot of you have been thinking this has been a crazy week. Last Friday, I actually started my very first bush flight series back on Friday, and I did a small bush trip across southern Appalachia, in Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina. We got to visit Dollywood and the Biltmore State, which is a real in-game POI. And what's really crazy is that we actually got rated by the Flying Fabio of all people, rated my stream, and I wanted to thank him still. I went all the way from 85 to now 113 with the most recent fall Balmont. Thank you. So, and that was a really crazy stream. I was like 313 people came to my stream, which is crazy. I'm going to rumble in the chat. Hello there, Martel172 and Alec D. Great to see you in the chat, guys. It's great seeing you all again. So, yeah, I got some pretty crazy stuff that we need to be talking about. But overall, I think we're going to have a good week. And I think this should be a great flight across the beautiful land of 10,000 lakes. So the question is what plane we're going to take. Since this is one of the longest flights of the entire series, we need a pretty fast plane for this. So I'm going to take the good old Diamond DA62, this twin engine plane made by Diamond Aircraft of Austria. Was actually first introduced into the world of aviation in 2012, and is introduced in 2015, and around 120 of them have been made during production. This really nice plane has a top speed at 192 knots top speed. It has a cruising speed of 171 knots at 75% power, and it has a range of about nearly 1,500 nautical miles with a service ceiling of 20,000 feet. This is a really nice plane, and this comes at standard edition. So I picked the normal paint scheme. I know the newer paint schemes out there, but I don't really want to use it. But this is an absolutely beautiful plane. So I think it'd be really good to include it into the sim. So this thing looks really nice as well. So overall, this is a really nice plane. My only issue with it is the visibility isn't as great as some of the as their other diamond planes, the DA-40. So I don't think it's really that great. But its performance and such should be more than good enough for the flight here today. So let's get in and get this cockpit started. Now, I usually, every time I start a plane, I always go over the checklist. And by doing that, I think we can start with the, before we start the engine, we're going to keep this thing, the power is idle. Check. The parking brake is set, I believe. The avionics is off, we definitely know that. Gear selector is down. Okay, now we gotta turn on the alternators. Now, there's actually two alternators in this plane. This one and this one. We gotta turn those on. This is not a turboprop. This is, it's actually powered by jet engine fuel. So this is actually quite unique. Next, we got the fuel pumps are off. That's good. Now we gotta turn on the electronic master, which is this thing. That turns on our electronics. Once we turn that on, now we gotta prepare to start the engine. So we need to turn on the ACL strobe lights. That's right there. Once we turn on those lights, the next step is we gotta turn on the engine master. So, boom. On the left, we gotta wait till the engine glow is on, and then the message will extinguish. Okay, that's good. So the reason I do these checkups is that way, even as someone who's done these planes before, it should be required to follow the checklist. That's something you gotta learn in the real aviation world. Then we're gonna start the left button. We're gonna hold this thing down for quite a bit. 10 seconds. We press the starter. Okay. Now we gotta wait 60 seconds more before we... If it doesn't start within 10 minutes, we need to wait a full 60 seconds to actually start again. Okay, I think this should be good. That's weird, we turn the alternator on. Have there been changes in your Discord? It says I don't have the right to see your stream announcements. I did. Oh. I changed for the posting. Let me go ahead and fix that. I make sure you can't send messages to the post channel. I gotta do Control E. I gotta tell this guy to stop doing the pushback. Okay. Okay, I got the whole engine started. I guess I might have to do Control E. That's why it's there for. You don't have the right to... I didn't want people's... Okay, Martel, I've seen the... Okay, I did the changes. I fixed it for you. So, I got that fixed. Now we gotta turn on the avionics master, which is already on. The power levers are set. Electronic equipment's pilot heat's fixed. Now we gotta do the flight instruments. That's already been set. Let's press this button. Strobe lights are still on. Now we gotta put on the other lights. The other lights are here. We're gonna put on the taxi lights and the nav lights. Set that on. And then we can set the trim onto neutral, but I think it's already been set. I think we can do the rest from here. No problem, Martel. And for those who don't know, I do have a Discord to keep track of my screen. I do actually have my very own Discord, so you can get the stream announcements for whenever I stream. I also follow the Two Tone Murphy Discord. In fact, I also have Two Tone Murphy's own Discord. And let me, I think I need to put a command on here. So Murph's got his own Discord as well. And I also have, I just put a new command as well. So I'm part of the flying circus of Two Tone Murphy as well. So once you do it, he has his own website, and you can join him on one of the Discord links, and you can join Murph's Discord. So that's what I'm going to do. Now we're going to go ahead and get this thing taxied. We're going to be heading to a new runway. We're going to actually take off from runway. More specifically, we're going to take off from runway 22 right. Here. We're going to be needing to follow a direction of 340 degrees of heading. 340 heading. So I'm going to need to set the heading if you guys don't mind. And then the altitude, let me get this thing open up, would be 3,000 feet. So I need to open up. We need to be at 3,000 feet. No, not 3,000 feet, 3,000 feet. So once I set the heading, and I'm going to set this up to 3,000. So there you go, guys. That's my heading, and that's everything's set up perfectly. Let me go ahead and take this off. I also do have another program I use. It's JoinFS, and the reason is it also helps with me solving my whole, my whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and take off. We're going to fly around as well. So sorry for my wreck. And I think I'm going to be off. Yep, there you go. There is downtown Milwaukee over there. There's Martel. Thank you for coming as well. And I see Martel up. I do like the Diamond DA62. It's actually quite a nice plane. It goes as fast as we need to for today. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back onto autopilot. There. Heading select. Vertical navigation, and we're gonna go at vertical speed. So we should get there pretty quickly today. I'm probably, once I get to 3,000, I'll be able to reset the thing as well. So I do have my thing finished for today, for the PowerPoint. So we're gonna actually, here's my PowerPoint. Twin Troubles, and there's actually a good reason I call it Twin Troubles. Because state of Wisconsin, and it was named for Menominee Chief Oshkosh, whose name meant claw. Now, it was established and growth of the wood industry spurred the growth of Oshkosh. During the later parts of the 20th century, it was also the home for the EAA, which we'll get to. It has its own section later on. It's also known for the Grand Opera House. The Aviation Museum here at Oshkosh is a very nice aviation museum. In the Wheelwash State Trail. So there's some couple notable people there. Tom Poborneski, who's the son of Paul Poborneski, and he served as the president of the EAA. Tyrese Halliburton, he's an NBA player that just came out of Iowa State, and he's from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And finally, Mark Gruenwald, who worked for Marvel Comics back in the day. During the 80s, he was one of the major people that worked at Marvel Comics. So definitely something pretty interesting as well. So definitely some very interesting names. So then we're going to get to the EAA. Now the EAA is known as the Experimental Aircraft Association. This was established back in 1953 by Paul Poborneski, originally as a flying club for home-built experimental aircraft. And since its inception, it has grown internationally with over 200,000 members and nearly 1,000 chapters worldwide. In fact, the EAA is often credited for restoring people's interest in general aviation planes. GA. In fact, if it wasn't for them, GA aircraft would probably not be nearly as popular as many people think. Now, they have several unique programs, including Technical Council. You can be a Technical Council, or you could be a flight advisor. They got programs for this, and for the youth, there's called the Young Eagles for their youth programs. However, EA is most known for hosting the EAA Air Adventure at Oshkosh at Whitman Regional, and it's actually the largest air show in the world. This year, 624,000 people have attended Air Adventure this year, which is a lot of people. To put that in perspective, that's nearly as many people as like the population of Milwaukee and all that, which is pretty insane. At Air Adventure, Oshkosh becomes the second largest city in all of Wisconsin. And it featured around 10,000 different aircraft featured there. And you basically have everything. You have classic warbirds, you have my favorite bush planes, you have your Cessnas, your experimental home builds for obvious reasons, ultralights. You even have big military aircraft and even some airliners and stuff too. EA Air Adventure has nearly everything. The acrobatic planes too. Air Adventure has nearly everything. It's pretty crazy. Splasher6 in the chat. I see you in the chat there, Splasher6. Good to see you. So yeah, we're on our way to there as well. We're also going to pass over Fond du Lac as well, which is another one of the towns on the banks of Lake Winnebago. Now, the thing about Lake Winnebago, it is actually the largest lake in the state of Wisconsin. It has around 215. It has around 137,700 acres, which makes it the largest lake in the state. It covers an area about 30 miles with 88 miles of shoreline. And it is very popular for fishing and boating. Many fishermen even say that Lake Winnebago is one of the top fisheries for walleye, which is pretty cool as well. So that's definitely something interesting about Link. Is your gear still extended? No, my gear is down. My gear is not down at all. It's just that the DH62 goes a bit slower, but I mean, it goes fast enough where I can still make some pretty considerable distance. So there is one more thing I'm going to do. He's also streaming the same time I am, but I'm going to give a shout out for Colonel 485. Today, this is going to be the last day of SimWings, which is a program given for children. Unfortunately, they had to shut it down after 2 years. But he's doing a stream for fundraising stuff and for giveaways. So don't be afraid to support his channel while you watch my stream. I think that would be really cool. And I'm actually hoping if I end my stream while he's still streaming, I'm hoping to raid him. I think it'll be a really good show of support for his channel and community. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a shout out. I think it'd be really nice to support his channel. So there's a couple of things I do want to talk about. So there are definitely some pretty big news. So actually, I spoke about the Milwaukee Brewers for a bit. So I actually found out today, like a couple of days ago, that the Brewers also have a new part of the ownership group for the Brewers. It included Milwaukee Bucks superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yes, that is actually the correct way to pronounce his name. Antetokounmpo. I mean, don't blame it. It's Greek. That's how it's pronounced. But he became a minority owner of the Milwaukee Brewers, which is pretty interesting. Also, the Field of Dreams game was something I talked about earlier. Well, it turns out that it's coming back next season, and basically next year they're going to announce that the Chicago Cubs and the Cincinnati Reds are playing, which is going to be pretty cool. And that's kind of a big deal because the AAA team for the Cubs are the Iowa Cubs, and they play in Des Moines, Iowa. So it's definitely something very interesting to point out. That's definitely pretty big news. In terms of the MLB standings, I'm going to go so for standings as well. So for terms of standings, obviously my Rays are dominating the American League East. They went 7-3 in the last 10 games and absolutely are dominating the East. The AL Central White Sox are now first, and on the AL Central by a considerable margin. They are by far the best team in that division, which should be a surprise. With the Twins being the last ranked team of the AL Central, unfortunately. The American League West is one of the more competitive divisions, with Houston being ahead 3.5 games over the Athletics. So definitely something to keep in mind. And then for the National East, the Braves lead the NL East as well. The NL Central has been dominated by the Brewers this year. The Brewers have been amazing this season. Milwaukee's a first place team in the NL Central. But the Reds are still very much in wildcard hunt season as well. So don't discount the Reds. They can still make the playoffs. And then for the National League West, this division has been dominated all season by the Giants and Dodgers, which have dominated this season. The Giants have been amazing all season, and so is the Dodgers. Those two teams, I mean, it's going to be insane between the Giants and Dodgers. It's going to be insane. The Padres are still one of the teams that are still in the wildcard hunt alongside the Reds. The question is who's going to take it, the Reds or the Padres? It's going to be a tough series, but I think personally, I'm hoping the Reds make it. The Reds haven't made the postseason in a long time. So definitely that's kind of my standings for a bit. Just go over the standings. I actually have it on my own disc. So definitely something interesting to point out. And also, I think to me, so that's kind of been my Major League news and standings for the week. So definitely keep an eye on. as well. So I want to ask you guys is how your all's weekend have been. I know this is Sunday, so I want to know how your all's weekend has been. Because I think I just make sure everyone has had a good weekend. I know Alison Johnson did a 9-hour plus flight around from Baghdad to Bandar Abbas. I'm going to give her a bit of it as well. But she did an absolutely crazy flight. And she did a 9+ hour flight in a Stearman. Over 972 nautical miles. I mean, that's insane. To fly that much in a Stearman is pretty crazy, if you ask me. It's pretty crazy, if you ask me. She did all that in a Stearman, too, which is awesome. As well. Sometimes just change the heading a bit. Let's look at the camera, so we can actually place ourselves in one of the back seats. This is what it looks like from the back seat. Now, the one thing I dislike about the DA62 is visibility. They're just, when you go into the DA40 or even the DV20, you have excellent visibility. Not so much with the DA62. The visibility isn't there. You get more visibility from the side than anything else, especially from the rear. That's passion. Yep. That's what passion for flying does there, Martel. You're exactly correct. Yeah, the back seat looks kind of interesting, that's for sure. As well. Now, that we're going to approach is Fond du Lac. I forgot that we're going over it. But Fond du Lac is actually is a part of Fond du Lac County. But it has a population of 43,000 people, and the name of it actually comes from the French language. It's French for bottom or the farthest point of the lake. That's what Fond du Lac is. It's also known as being home to Mercury Marine, which is a marine division that makes outboard motors and such. So definitely something interesting we're going to make. Fond du Lac is also home to Marian University, which is a Catholic university. And one of its most notable people, Fond du Lac, is actually one of its most notable people. It's definitely one of its more iconic people that come from the city. Fond du Lac is the place where King Camp Gillette actually lives, and he was the founder of the Gillette Company. So that's something else about Fond. I like the diamonds. Yeah, their diamonds are quite easy to handle and such. And the DA40 is a great plane because you also are offered great visibility as well. Off. So we're gonna land at Oshkosh. I'm gonna explore about the airport. I do actually have a freeware airport. I have a free scenery pack, so we're gonna explore a bit about Oshkosh. I got a view of that as well. Or at least not. We're just gonna do a simple touch and go, and I'll use my drone camera to survey Oshkosh for a bit. I know Murph's done streams in Oshkosh. When he did the whole ATC thing, that was pretty cool. as well. So definitely something very well. There's we're gonna get to the we're gonna get to our showcase camera for a bit. So this is what the Diamond DA looks like from the cam. So I've also heard as well that they actually pushed back the World Update 6. It was supposed to come on the 24th, but that's not officially happening. They actually moved it all the way back to September 6th. I'm hoping with the delay that they get some extra things worked out and things go as well as I hope it can be. Well, definitely hear the sound of the engine, that's for sure. So that's for sure as well. There's Fond du Lac, which is ahead of us, and there's the big old Lake Winnebago. I'm not really going fast this lane. I'm going only 130 knots. I don't really need to go really, really fast. I'm going to take my time and explore things a bit. As well, there it is. There's Fond du Lac down below us as well. We're just going to do a simple touch and go in Oshkosh. Now, usually when you go to Oshkosh, I've seen Creature Area of Interest are crazy. Yep. Apparently, I've done a stream. When Oshkosh happens, that people actually have to approach Oshkosh actually a bit differently. It's called the Fisk route. I know we're not going to be approaching it today, but in Oshkosh, you would have to do a specific approach to do it. But we're not going to be doing that today. I think GA is a much larger thing than the US. Oh, absolutely. Especially with America being one of the major centers for aviation, GA is a much bigger thing in the U.S. I completely agree with you on that one, Martel. Absolutely, I'm not gonna disagree with you on that one. In Germany, it has a very exclusive touch. I believe it's all due to the regulations and stuff. Now, we should get to the Oshkosh airport very soon. I don't think we have to wait too long to get there. I'm going to go ahead and lower the altitude a bit. I'm going to drop the altitude to 1,500 feet. Well, 1,000 feet's way too low. No, I said 1,000 is way too low. 1,500 feet. And this here is the Oshkosh runway. We're going to get on top of the center part of the airport. There is Whitman Regional. I do have the airport. There's Whitman Regional. I do have the airport itself. Now, interesting thing here, you see those. Now, let me get the camera back out. Let me get the camera back out. We're gonna do zoom level. Now you see those colored. Now, if you see those colored dots there, this is where specific aircraft they need to land at those specific dots. In order to do it, they need to land at these specific dots. So some aircraft are told to land on the purple dot, or some told on the yellow dot, or the pink one, or the blue one. Certain aircraft have to land at those dots. We're not going to touch and go, but I want to show you around. Also, right next, there's a camp. These different camps would be where some of the people's aircraft would be parked. And during AirVenture, it is full of aircraft all over Oshkosh. There's a lot of them out there. When it gets there, Oshkosh is packed. It is actually crazy. Now, not far from here, there's the EAA Air Aviation Museum, which is located over in this direction is the EA AirVenture. The museum is right next to this grass strip. Let me get over here. The grass strip is where the EAA Air Museum is located. This grass strip is where people often do a lot of their bush landings around here. And around this area would be where the STOL contest would be around, which is around this area here. So you can take your favorite bush plane and land here in Oshkosh, which is quite nice. There's all sorts. And not far from here, if you see all that water area right here on the screen, this is where you park a lot of your seaplanes. Your seaplanes can be parked right here. As long as you have a viable plane with floats or anything similar to that, you can land your seaplane over here, which is really cool. And it gives Oshkosh a unique touch, which is quite cool, if you ask me. So that kind of it is a thing about Oshkosh itself. I'm going to go back to the camera. It tells me that we need to go into direction of 16. I'm going to slow down the plane quite a bit. 16. So this is Oshkosh for one last time. There's the VOR marker down there. And now we're going to be heading to our next destination. And we're going to go to our next destination here today. No, let me fix that. Our first stop today, it will be here in Appleton, Wisconsin. So Appleton is actually the 6th largest city in the state. It is situated on the Fox River. It is one of the Fox cities because it's bordered on the Fox River. Appleton's most well known for being with the paper industry. In fact, the paper industry is what really put Appleton over the top, and it's been the development of the city. Now, quite a few of the landmarks here in Appleton, the Hearthstone House, then there's a history museum built on top of a castle, and then the Paper Discovery Center. Now, some notable people, they include most famously Harry Houdini, yes, the legendary magician, one of the most famous magicians of all time. The next is actually Hall of Fame broadcaster, Canadian Baseball Hall of Famer, All-Star and broadcaster Tony Kubek. He's also from Appleton. And finally, Brad Smith. And for those who don't know about Brad Smith is a well-known lawyer, and he's actually the current president at Microsoft. And he's serving as its chief legal officer. So yes, that's why I put his name on there. And considering Microsoft are the people who were responsible for making Microsoft Flight Simulator, I have to probably include his name. So it would be kind of rude to... In addition to him as well, we're also going to visit a ballpark as well. We're going to visit the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers. Now, they are the High A affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers. They were originally known as the Fox City Foxes when they were founded in 1958, but they became known as the Timber Rattlers. And the Timber Rattlers are obviously named after the timber rattlesnake, which is, in fact, the timber rattlesnake is actually where a lot of people get their snake attacks in the U.S. A lot of them are caused by the timber rattlesnake. So definitely a really cool name. It's a nice area. I know this area of Wisconsin is quite nice. Yeah, this area of Wisconsin is very, very nice. In fact, of all the U.S. states, Wisconsin's third in lakes behind Minnesota and Minnesota number 2, and number 1 being Alaska. It's very beautiful around here. You as well. It is absolutely a nice area. So I'm gonna go ahead. Since we're around here, I'm gonna pull up the nav map. So we're gonna be landing here. We're gonna be landing at. We're gonna go straight in at runway 21. When we get to Appleton International, we'll land there, and we'll get landing there when we get parked. Have you ever been to Oshkosh? No, but my family and I have been talking about going to Wisconsin Dells, and that's about an hour and 30 minutes away from Oshkosh. And I'm hoping that if it's possible, get to Wisconsin Dells in 2022. I'm hoping if I can do that in July, then I can go to Oshkosh for the EA Air Adventure and meet Murph and the rest of the group. I mean, that would be really cool. I get to meet Two-Tone Murphy, Colonel Fork, and the rest in Oshkosh. That would be really awesome. I'm hoping that becomes a reality there, Martel. But yeah, great question. Definitely something very interesting to point out. In addition, the Fox Rivers doesn't just get Appleton; it also gets it flows all the way from Winnebago, all the way up into Green Bay, Wisconsin. Now, for those who don't know, Green Bay, Wisconsin is the home of the Green Bay Packers, one of the most popular American football teams in the country. And if I ever did an NFL series, I would absolutely go to Green Bay. We can visit the Packers. Interesting fact about the Packers, for those who don't know, is the fact that the city of Green Bay, Wisconsin actually owns the Packers. The only such at that in all of North America to be publicly owned. Yes, the entire city actually owns it, which is actually crazy. It's unheard of. It's not so unheard of in Europe, but it is unheard of in the United States especially. And there is Appleton, Wisconsin, which is pretty cool. There's Appleton right here. Papa Joe B is in the chat, as well as Giabac and Zilsumi. Welcome to the chat as well. I just saw you all in the chat. There's the airport, but we're gonna go through one checkpoint first. We're gonna go visit the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers there. So we'll be able to do that. I can actually take this off autopilot. I think I can fly the rest of the way there, because this isn't very much of a flight. Autopilot, flight director, turn off vertical navigation. And there is the Timber Rattler Stadium. It's called Neuroscience Group at Fox Field. Yes, that is a long field name. We're just going to do a flyby over it. Okay, we're going to get the landing gear going up. We're going to press the because this thing can stall at surprisingly high speed. gonna lower this to 1 stage of flaps. I'm gonna lower it to 2 flaps. There's where we need to land. I know this isn't a proper way to land the plane. There's the runway 21, which is right in front of us. This should be a pretty easy landing. Just gotta remember land with the rear wheels first, and I think we're down. And we're down. There's Appleton Regional. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing parked. So this. We're going to turn off our engine masters. So this will turn off our engines. Let's see if Martel can actually pull off the landing here in Appleton. And I see Martel on the ground. See Martel flying. Good. Good job. That was a good landing. Now I'm gonna turn off the remaining electronics and I'm gonna exit out and reload back in because that's what I do every single time. I don't want to restart the whole sim. I just want to exit out so I can log in my flight. 38-minute flight. Let's get back to the main menu. And let's get back to the main menu. I'm going to go ahead and... It's difficult to see the runway because of the high instrument board. Yeah, that's kind of a thing too. But this sort of thing kind of takes practice. Okay. Run fuel box. I need to... yeah, let's go ramp 30 parking. Let's go here. It is kind of a difficult thing, I kind of agree. The instrument board on the DA62 is kind of high. Now, I know that Diamond actually revealed Oshkosh they're working on a new plane. It's called the Diamond DA50? Which is the plane they're working on now, is a Diamond DA50. So let me get that loaded. So the Diamond DA50 is what they revealed at Oshkosh this year. So let me get that loaded in. So this is the Diamond DA50. This thing it looks really cool. It's like a DA62 but with one engine. And this thing is pretty cool, not gonna lie. So yeah, definitely something very interesting. Now I'm gonna get this plane back started. I'm just turning on the engine manually because I don't trust. Complete. We gotta turn on the electrical equipment. PA heat's on. We just turn on the position lights. Trim. Okay, we got that set manually. Now we can get this plane. Be right back. That's fine. That's fine. Take care. I hope to see you back soon. That's weird. Only one of my two engines is on. This is really weird. Okay, good. Now both my engines are on. Okay, good. It just needed to turn the two engines on. Okay, we're going to take off from 22 right. Now for this one, we're going to go a bit faster this time. Because, obviously, I'm not going to go... We're going to go back, but this time we're going to actually go at 3,000 feet again. We've got a few things to clear. Okay. Now I need to reset the heading. So the heading we're going to be heading, according to my nav map, let's pull 288 degrees, which is located over here. So 288 will be our heading. 280. Got it. I'm going to change the turn that off. And we're going to get going back in the air once again. This thing is now going to launch right off. And I think we should... The gear is going down. So for our next destination, our next stop is going to be here at Eau Claire. Now, Eau Claire is actually the 8th largest city in Wisconsin, and it comes from the singular form of its original French name, Eaux Claires, meaning clear waters. Now, sawmills and other manufacturing made it an industrial city in the 19th century. Now, Eau Claire is known for the Chippewa River Trail, Carson Park, and Mount Simon Park, all different parks around the region. Now, one of its most notable people is John Menard Jr. Now, he's the founder of the Menards chain of home improvement stores, and he is a very well-known person for that sort of stuff. And his son is even a NASCAR race driver. Then we have Willis S. Olson, who is an American ski jumper and competed in the 1952 and 1956 Winter Olympics. And he became a well-known skier. And finally, the last person in Eau Claire is Brad Radke, who was a longtime reliever for the Minnesota Twins and became a very successful one too. So definitely some very interesting people we have to go visit. It's 288, so I need to reset. I'm going to go ahead and reset this back to So now I'm going to get to our main topic for today. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now we're going to talk about our main topic today. So our main topic today, we're going to talk about the Minnesota Twins. Now, actually, believe it or not, the Minnesota Twins actually have a longer history than most realize. Now, the Minnesota Twins were actually established all the way back in 1901 as the Washington Senators, the original Senators, and currently they now play in the American League Central Division. From 1901 to 2020, the combined Senators Twins franchise have won 939 games and lost 9,627 games with 109 ties, giving them an overall win percentage of 48.2%. Now, in their history as in both DC and Minnesota, the Twins have won 3 World Series championships in 1924 as the Senators, and as the Twins, they won the World Series in 1987 and 1991. They combined, they won 6 American League pennants and 12 American League Division titles. They currently play at Target Field, their beautiful ballpark in Minneapolis. And the team colors historically have been red, white, and blue, but in recent years they also added Minnesota Cascota Gold, which is based off the Cascota limestone that's all around the state of Minnesota. Originally, the team in Minnesota was originally supposed to be called the Twin City Twins, but Major League Baseball prevented one of the owners, Hubert Griffith, from doing it. So they can only be called the Minnesota Twins. But their hat logo, whereas is still allowed to wear the hat logo of TC, the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. It's because the two cities are right next to each other. Now, one of the fun facts about the Minnesota Twins is that fans often wave the Homer hanky, which is a white towel with the team logo, and it was used to rally the team during the playoffs and other crucial games. Another interesting fact about the Minnesota Twins, they are the main baseball team that was the main part of the movie Little Big League. And apparently that movie featured that the Twins are inherited by a 12-year-old boy as well. Now, the Minnesota Twins have got an interesting history. Now, their AAA affiliate is actually in St. Paul, the St. Paul Saints. And their AA team here is in Wichita, Kansas, as well. Now, the Minnesota Twins actually got their start back in 1901 during the early years. It was founded in 1901 as one of the 8 original teams of the American League. And they were named as the Washington Senators from 1901 to 1904. However, and then they were named the Washington Nationals from 1905 to 1955. However, it still even though the official name was the Nationals, the fans were in newspapers often known them as the Senators. Now, in the first decade, they weren't so great in the standings. However, in 1907, things far improved when they got a 19-year-old pitcher by the name of Walter Perry Johnson. And I will be talking about Walter Perry Johnson because this guy, you're going to know how special he is. So, in 1912, headlined by Walter Johnson, helped the Senators go to second place in the American League because Johnson won 33 games. However, after that 1912 season, they kind of fell in decline once again. But things thankfully got much better in the 20s and 30s, got way better for the Senators. In the 1920s, they actually had some prolonged success. And thanks to Walter Johnson in 1924, the Senators won their very first ever American League pennant, managed to actually beat out Bruce Yankees, which is hard to believe. And they faced the New York Giants in the World Series. They were heavily favored, but for some reason, the Senators actually won the World Series, giving Washington DC their first title ever. In fact, it's DC's only title all the way to 2019, which is really surprising. Then, in 1925, they won the pennant once again, but they lost to the World Series to the Pirates. And during a few more seasons, they returned back contention in 1930, and 3 years later, the Senators won the pennant again, led by Joe Cronin and company, but they lost to the New York Giants for revenge. And this would be the last league title for the city of Washington, D.C. until 2019 when the Nationals won the NL pennant and then the World Series. So yeah, Washington has been historically not been great for baseball, is what I'm going to be telling you guys. For the next 25 years, the Senators have been a losing ball club. In fact, they were only competing once during the war, and mind you, this was during World War II. That's how bad the Senators. And they became known as first in war, first in peace, and last in the American League, which I mean is pretty infamous. Due to the lack of success in Washington and lower attendance, Griffith, the owner of the time, wanted to move his team to Minnesota after the 1960 season, and they managed to actually make that happen. And they set up shop at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, which is right outside, which is not far from Minneapolis. And success came really quickly to the Twins. And even won the American League pennant in Minnesota in 1965. But unfortunately, they had to play against Sandy Koufax's Dodgers. And they fell in the World Series. 2 years later, the Twins were in a tight playoff race, but they got edged out by the Red Sox as they beat the Twins in 2 of the 3 games. And then in 1969, the Twins won their very first ever division title, but then they lost to the Orioles in the championship series, and that was the team that lost to the New York Mets during that time. However, after their success in 1970, when they won another division title, but they quickly fell again to the Orioles. Then afterwards, the Twins became a 500 team for the next couple of years, for the next 8 years. And then in 1982, the Twins actually moved from Metropolitan Stadium to the Metrodome. But the 1980s was actually, in the early 90s, were actually a very good decade for the Twins, because in 1987, the Minnesota Twins, after a few seasons, would players by Ken Herbeck, Gary Getty, Frank Viola, Bert Blyleven, and a new rising star named Kirby Puckett. The Twins managed to get back to the World Series. They beat the Tigers in the championship series to give the city of Minnesota their second pennant. And thanks to manager Tom Kelly, the Minnesota Twins faced the Cardinals in the 87 series, and thanks to him, and being the 1987 series was such a great series, the Twins managed to win in 7 games, getting the city of Minnesota their first taste of World Series championship. The most notable thing about the 1987 series is that Game 7 of the 87 World Series was actually the 500th World Series game ever played, which has been interesting. The 88 Twins were the first team in American League history to draw more than 3 million fans. And then in 1991, the Twins win the pennant once again, and they faced Atlanta, which was the team of the 90s. Kirby Puckett's my favorite athlete. Oh, don't worry, we'll talk more about Kirby Puckett. Now, Kirby Puckett's got a really interesting story to him. Oh, Kirby Puckett, such an icon. The 91 World Series is one of the greatest World Series of all time. Many people consider it to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, World Series of all time. That game went all the way to 7. It featured four walk-off hits, and 5 of the games in the World Series were decided by a single run. And in the end, the Minnesota Twins managed to win the World Series in Game 7 thanks to Gene Larkin, a walk-off hit, and given the franchise its 3rd overall championship, the 2nd in Minnesota, and it's been their most recent title. And by the way, on my Discord, I actually have highlights of that 1991 World Series. Such an iconic World Series. It is one of the greatest World Series of all time. It also shares the record for being the longest World Series ever. It's 69 innings, which is insane. I mean, that was such an insane series. 1991 amazing World Series. However, after the 91 season, the Minnesota Twins went on a bit of a decline. They were still a 500 team. They just were mediocre for much of the 90s. However, the Twins have been really wanting to get out of the Metrodome because it's kind of an obsolete stadium. I mean, it's a multi-purpose stadium in a new era where there are new ballparks being built. And originally in 2001, the Twins were talked about relocating or contracting the team due to all the issues that happened. But thankfully that never happens. That's because they managed to get a deal with the Minneapolis Council, and they keep the team in Minnesota, which is a good thing. The Twins then, in the 21st century, have absolutely dominated in the first decade of the new century, winning the AL Central 6 times out of 10 years, from 2002, 2003, 2004, 2006, 2009, and 2010, thanks to players like Johan Santana, Justin Morneau, and especially Joe Mauer. Especially Mauer, of course. In 2002, the Twins made it to the Championship Series. However, they kind of fell to the Angels, unfortunately. 2006, the Twins actually managed to win the division on the last day of the season, led by MVP at the time, Justin Morneau. They also had featuring the batting champion Joe Mauer and Cy Young Award winner Johan Santana, but unfortunately lost to the Athletics in ALDS. And then in 2009, they fell to the Yankees in the DS series. The Twins unfortunately just couldn't get over the hump. And then in 2010, most recently, the Twins moved to Target Field. They finally moved to a new ballpark. Target Field's for all the pitcher stuff, it's a really nice stadium. And in 2000 also marks the first time outdoor baseball is played in Minnesota. And the Twins won the AL Central once again for the 6th time in 9 years. But then after a few non-relevant seasons, the Twins reappeared back in the postseason. But they lost to the wildcard game. The Twins won their first AL Central title since 2010. And believe it or not, they actually combined for a total of 307 home runs, the most in Major League history by a single team. To put that in context about that season, the Twins actually, that 2019 Twins were incredibly interesting in the fact. If you want to look at all the numbers and all the players of the 2019 Twins, basically, three players hit over 30 home runs. Nearly everyone hits a crap ton of home runs. That's why they hit over 300 home runs, which is insane. And that brings us to the chat. I completely agree with you, Abdi, that both World Series of the Twins have been epic. Absolutely. The Twins, those series have been some of the greatest to ever play the sport. Now for their legends. Now the Minnesota Twins and Senators do have legends. So the first one I want to talk about, the first player I want to mention is a player that needs no introduction. Probably the greatest pitcher of the dead ball era, Walter Perry Johnson. He came from Humboldt, Kansas, and he became one of the most dominant pitchers, if not the most dominant pitcher of all time. He's established several pitching records during his time, some of which were unbroken over 9 decades. And that mainly is the fact he has over 110 shutouts, which is still a record. Now, Walter Johnson's also known for his gentle nature. He was actually a gentle player, and he's a great example of good sportsmanship. Now, Walter Johnson was known for his incredible abilities. The man actually won, not only did he won 417 games, he also did it with an ERA of 2.17, meaning he only allowed 2.17 runs per inning. He had over 3,500 strikeouts and an MLB record 110 shutouts. And he played for the Senators from 1907 to 1927 as well. And he was one of the inaugural 5 Hall of Famers in 1936 alongside Babe Ruth and others. He was a 2-time American League MVP. He won the pitching triple crown 3 times. 6 times led the American League in wins. 5 times was the lowest ERA in the American League, and a record 12 straight American League strikeout leader. This guy can strike people out. And believe it or not, he actually held the career strikeout record for 56 years, from 1927 until 1983, when 3 players broke that mark. And those 3 players that broke that mark are all Hall of Famers: Steve Carlton, Nolan Ryan, and Gaylord Perry, which is just insane. So he's one. In fact, Sport News even put him as the 4th greatest baseball player of all time, and he's a member of Major League Baseball's All-Century team. And his power pitching just made him a nightmare. He did not want to deal with Walter Johnson on the mound. Next one is one of the greatest Minnesota Twins of all time, Harmon Killebrew, aka the Killer or Hammer Harmon. He was known as one of the most feared power sluggers of the 1960s and one of the great Minnesota Twins of all time, and the only player here that have played in both Minnesota and Washington in DC. At the time, he had the 4th most home runs in Major League history. He's 5'11", and due to his compact swing, he had amazing power. He had some of the farthest home runs in the majors, including at Metropolitan Stadium and Baltimore's Memorial Stadium, and he's only just one of 4 players to hit the left field roof at Tiger Stadium. And that's not easy. The right field roof is much easier to hit than the left field. However, despite his nicknames and powerful play, he was actually quite a kind man. Now, Harmon Killebrew only hit 256. The average wasn't really the thing that made Killebrew, though. It's the 573 home runs and 1,584 RBIs. In addition, he was a 13-time All-Star, the AL MVP of 1969, meaning he's the most valuable player. 6 times was the American League home run leader, and 3 times was the American League RBI leader, means run batted in, for those who don't know baseball lexicon. And he had a great career as well in the major leagues. In fact, his longest home run is still here today at Metropolitan Stadium. That seat is still there today, and you can find it in one of the most interesting locations too. But yeah, Harmon Killebrew, his average may not have been impressive, but his batting and power made him extremely impressive. Now, one of Major League Baseball's greatest what-ifs, Tony Oliva. Now, I know a lot of you newer people might not know, but Tony Oliva in his prime was one of the best players in all of baseball. He was an amazing all-around hitter with average and power, and during his first 8 seasons, he was an all-star in his first 8 seasons, was a Major League All-Star. Unfortunately, though, he had some severe knee injuries, and that really hampered his career and forced him to be a designated hitter. He was a .304 hitter in his career, meaning he hit 30.4% of all at bats, with 220 home runs and 947 RBIs. This man was an 8-time All-Star, the 1966 Gold Glove winner, and he was a 3-time American League batting champion. He barely missed being in the Hall of Fame in 2014 by 1 vote. And his number today is still probably retired in Minnesota as number 6. And even though that era was dominated by pitching, Tony Oliva had strong offensive numbers. In fact, some people consider to be one of the top 100 baseball players of all time. That despite his injuries, Tony Oliva was a fantastic hitter for the Twins. Definitely a player not many people know even to this day. The next player on the list is Rod Carew. Now, Rod Carew's actually got a history as not just one of the best Twins players, but he's also one of the top Angels players of all time. He's definitely the greatest contact hitter in Twins history. and is known for his strong ability to put the ball in play. This man appeared. This man is really well known for being from Panama, and he played for the majors from '67 to 1985. Rod Carew went through 18 straight play All-Star games. He was the 1977 AL MVP, the 1977 Roberto Clemente Award, and a 7-time American League batting champion. That's because this man in his career hit 328, 3,053 hits, and yeah, he only had 96 home runs, but he still got over 1,000 RBIs. Now, currently, he still holds many places in the Twins' all-time franchise list, including the highest career batting average, the second highest on-base percentage, and 5th all-time in franchise history in hits. And in 2016, Rod Carew's name is on the American League batting title, which is extremely impressive for Rod Carew. So definitely a very interesting player as well. He was just all-around a fantastic hitter, and he made it to the Hall of Fame in 1991 in his first year of eligibility. Very impressive hitter. And now, Alec D, you want to talk about your favorite athlete, because we got Kirby Puckett. Now, Kirby Puckett actually is interesting. Now, he's born from Chicago, but he was such a really entertaining player to watch. He is extremely strong on both offense and defense. He was part of the Twins from 1984 to 1995. It's one of its most beloved players, and was elected to the Hall of Fame back in 2001. Now, Kirby Puckett, for those who don't know, was the player that hit the memorable home run in Game 6 of the 1991 World Series to put the Twins to Game 7. Kirby Puckett in his career was a career .318 hitter with 2,304 hits, 207 home runs, and 1,085 RBI. This man was a 10-time All-Star for the Twins. He was a 6-time Silver Slugger and Gold Glove Award winner. He was the 1989 batting champion for the American League, and in 1996 Roberto Clemente Award winner. Now, unfortunately, he could have played longer, but there was a huge issue with him. One of the biggest problems with him was due to the fact he was kind of forced to retire due to him losing a bit of vision. He had a disease called central retinal vein occlusion, and that caused blindness in his eye, and it's revealed that he also had glaucoma as well. And due to that, he couldn't really play for much, and he passed away tragically in 2006 on March 5th. He had a hemorrhage stroke, and as a result, he passed away, and he currently now has a statue in Target Field as well. So Kirby Puckett is one of the all-time great players. He was very much admired by the people of Minnesota for not just his baseball personality, but he's been a huge helper of the community as well. So definitely one of the most memorable players in Twins history. And finally, the last Minnesota Twin I'm going to include on this list is the most recent one, and I gotta put Joe Mauer's name on here. As the face of the Twins for the 2000s and 2010s, he was one of the best catchers in the American League during that time, if not probably the best. Joe Mauer is the only catcher in Major League history to win 3 batting titles, and he's the only catcher to win it in the American League. Oh yeah, and he's also the only catcher recently to win the MVP. Joe Mauer, in his 15 years, hit .306 with 2,123 hits, 143 home runs, and 923 RBIs. This man was a 6-time All-Star, the 2009 American League MVP, a 3-time Gold Glove Award winner, a 5-time Silver Slugger, and a 3-time American League batting champion. He's born and proudly raised in St. Paul, one of the 2 Twin cities. In fact, originally, he was supposed to be committed for college football at Florida State as a quarterback, believe it or not. But Joe Mauer's had a fantastic career. Unfortunate injuries kind of hurt him later in the career, but I mean, Mauer is still great. And one of the fun facts about Joe Mauer is that he is the cover athlete of MLB The Show, MLB 10 and 11. So, yes. In fact, one of the game's taglines is saying, "Well played, Mauer." And that becomes a tagline for every time about whenever Joe Mauer catches something. which is really cool. But Joe Mauer, absolutely beloved. His number 7's proudly retired on the rafters at Target Field. And definitely one of the most interesting players in franchise history. And that concludes my Minnesota Twins talking about. So we're going to get back to the cockpit. Okay, we're gonna realign. Chippewa Valley is not far from here. We actually make good time. Chippewa Valley is not far from here. I think we're making good time. And we're making kind of good time here. As well, so we're making pretty good progress here. As well, we should get the Chippewa Valley. As well, it's definitely a very interesting flight here today. So that's all the Twins history that I know of. So there is a couple other things I do want to point out about the Twins. So some other fun facts about the team itself. So the first thing about the Minnesota Twins is some of their nicknames. Now the Twins have got quite a few nicknames themselves as well. So they're also been known as the Twinkies, which makes sense. As well, in addition to this as well, the Minnesota Twins also have a pretty iconic logo. The Minnesota Twins Minnie and Paul logo. Now, that is... So the Minnie and Paul logo actually have a long history. The history of the logo itself actually has a long history. The Twins shaking hands. This logo goes all the way back patch. And the reason was because the statue was made because there were two previous minor league teams back in the day. The Minneapolis Millers and the St. Paul Saints. And when the Twins moved to Minnesota, they want to find a way to bring unity between the Twin cities. So they put the Minnie and St. Paul onto it as well. And that brings us to the classic logo, the Minnie and Paul shaking hands. This iconic logo is on many of the patches of their uniforms, too. And it's definitely a great way to bring into the city. It's definitely a very... But it shows unity between the two twin cities, which is definitely really nice. It's a really nice touch to honor the two cities of Minnesota itself. Some of the other things I also know about the Twins as well is I said back St. Paul is their AAA affiliate. In fact, with St. Paul Saints as their affiliate, they have the closest minor league affiliate of any team in baseball, as it's only now 10 miles apart. Literally right next to each other. Which, I mean, it's great. If you want to call up a player of the major leagues, it'll only be 10 miles away. So it wouldn't take you very far to get a team. The St. Paul Saints, their affiliate, actually has a long history of baseball in St. Paul. They were originally an independent baseball team, but have since been now part of the minor league baseball of affiliate. And that team is known for their crazy promotions. And many of those promotions included some crazy ones. Okay, here's some crazy ones. They reveal there was a jury thing exhibition game that featured a judge that called balls and strikes from behind the pitcher, which is pretty funny. They also did the world's largest pillow fight in 2015 with 6,221 participants. And they also participated in the world's largest food fight in 2018 to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Animal House. Some pretty crazy stuff here in St. Paul Saints. Hey, Splasher6, welcome to the chat, man. So we just talked about the history of the Minnesota Twins. So we just talked about their history of the franchise as both the original Senators and the Minnesota Twins. We covered some of the greatest players in franchise history, from Walter Johnson all the way to most recently Joe Mauer. As well, also covering players like Harmon Killebrew and Kirby Puckett. So we covered those today. And we're getting to our second stop of the trip at Chippewa Valley Airport. So we're going to go ahead and get to our second stop this evening at Eau Claire. We're going to land on runway 22, which will be our final stop. Our second stop, we're going to land at runway 22. We're actually going to land at 04. We're going to land from the river. So let's do that. Yeah, I heard about the wild promotions at the minor league team. I did not know they were located in the Twin Cities. That's right, Splasher. Yeah, their promotions are wild. In fact, a lot of people were worried that now with the Saints being affiliate team, they would actually turn down some of the promotions. The truth is, they still have some crazy promotions. As well. Mm-hmm. In fact, there are quite a few interesting players that play for the Saints as well. Dale Strawberry played for the team. Minnie Minoso. Yes, Minnie Minoso. They player who can play lots of games. Kevin Millar. As well, they got some pretty interesting players. They must be a double A team. No, actually, they're not a double A team. They're actually the AAA affiliate. They're actually the first level down from the Twins. Actually, Splasher. That means the team can use taxis all the way from St. Paul to Minneapolis. I'm not kidding. But the Saints aren't really the only professional team in St. Paul, Splasher. St. Paul also hosts the Minnesota United FC of the MLS, Major League Soccer, and the Minnesota Wild plays in St. Paul, the ice hockey team. So yeah, St. Paul. But we're gonna actually visit Minneapolis first, so I need to get ready for parking. But yeah, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the really nice lakes. Absolutely got some beautiful sights and sounds. In fact, they actually started playing affiliate baseball this season. Yeah, the Iowa Wild here in here in Des Moines. Yep, Midwest teams. We should be getting there pretty soon as well. So, guys, if you want to actually join in, Martel's back. Good to see you. I'm in the East USA server. Enjoy me. as well. So, we're getting pretty close to you, Claire. So, we're gonna be the beautiful environments. Alec D spawned in. Good to actually see you here. So, I'm gonna try to pick up a bit of speed. I want to hear the beautiful sounds of the environment. Good to see Alec D. Okay, I'm gonna land on runway 32. So let me go ahead and pull up the nav map. Great stream today, thank you. I want to put all this effort for the Twins and such. The Twins are your favorite, yep. In fact, I know someone from Minnesota, believe it or not, Alec. She used to be my aide back in high school. As someone with special needs, I had a bit of autism myself. She was my special need maid and aide throughout high school, and she's from Minnesota, and the Twins are her favorite team. So I know someone from Minnesota, which is pretty cool, to say for the least. Okay. This should be a good way to land. I'm going to reduce the speed just slightly. Readjust. I'm glad that you're really enjoying the stream. I do these every Sunday as well. Whoa, careful. Careful, there were trees. Okay, that's a good landing. Should pull up the flaps. Get this thing stopped. There's Alec D in the Cessna 172. That's a Bonanza. That's pretty good. Yep, that was a good landing. Oh, you're in the Turbo Arrow. Oh, that's a good plane to pick. The Arrow's a good choice. I never got the Arrows or anything like that. But I mean, the only Pipers I really do like are the Cubs. I'm definitely interested in the Arrows, but I'd rather fly the planes that I like to fly. That being said, if I were to get the Turbo Arrow, that would be a great pick. But I usually want to, but in this series, I really want to fly planes that come in Standard Edition, that come from the base, because I think I want to see different planes that you would never really get the chance. Like, for example, when I went to Milwaukee, I took the Flight Design CTSL because no one really know how to fly the thing. But I showed everyone that you can fly this bad boy. And Martel's down. Good. This is great. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the engine, and I'm going to restart this and back the airport. I'm going to exit out here. Then I'm just going to respawn back at the airport. I usually do this every time I leave, so we'll get everything ready. That way, I can load in the new sim as well. I just want to log in my flight hours. As well, there's a lot of beautiful... This is basically Screenshot Simulator. Yep, I'm just going to take off from runway 22. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all set up for my nav map. Well, the heading we need to be in is we're going to need to be heading in a direction. We need to head in a heading of 270. We can actually go back to 2,500 feet, but we can actually get away with 2,000 feet. Yeah. Okay, we load back in. I need to change the heading to 270. Boom. Reset the heading bug. Got it. And we're going to go at 2,000 feet. Turn on the pitot heat. And let's get this bad boy rolling. I didn't really want to wait to get the whole startup. I've had issues starting this thing up. So I might as well get back going. So guys, this is our final leg of the trip throughout the land of 10,000 lakes, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and St. Paul. I'm back here, the last leg of the trip. Thankfully, let me get back to my heading. Time to put on the autopilot. Heading select, vertical navigation, and the flight level command. But I'm not really going to go fast with the last one. I'm going to go a bit slower. Probably around 120 to 110 to 115 knots. Yes, this thing can get that slow. Here's the beautiful Wisconsin River. This thing is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to reduce the throttle to 65%. So guys, for the last section of my slideshow, and after Joe Mauer, we're going to talk about one of our two destinations, Minneapolis and St. Paul. Let's talk about the state capital of Minnesota, St. Paul. Now, this was established back in 1849. It's the second largest city in the state, behind fellow Twin City, Minneapolis. Now, St. Paul is known as a very interesting place, to say the least. So, St. Paul was actually named after after the Church of St. Paul as well. Now, St. Paul is most known for being the home for the Science Museum in Minnesota. And it's on the confluence of the Minnesota River and lies east of the Mississippi. Now, St. Paul was actually founded all the way back in 1841, named after First St. Paul, built on the bluff of the riverboat. St. Paul was most well known for during the 1920s for being the home of some for the mob, including Al Capone, John Dillinger, Babyface Nelson, and Machine Gun Kelly were home to a mob there. And even Bonnie and Clyde have even called city as well. And to this day, Minnesota is really well known for being, there are some major corporations there, including Ecolab, the 3M Company as well, and it was originally the home of its Twin Cities assembly plant for Ford. Now St. Paul landmarks, they include obviously the Cathedral of St. Paul, the Minnesota State Fair is there, and speaking of the Minnesota State Fair in St. Paul, the Minnesota State Fair is actually the second largest state fair by total attendance, only behind the State Fair of Texas, and is the largest by average attendance. In fact, Minnesota State Fair is unique for its livestock and its food. Minnesota State Fair it was named the best state fair in the U.S. in 2015. It features livestock, food, shows, and other entertainment. The food especially is the most important. In fact, 27 new types of food were invented in 2018, including firecracker shrimp stuffed avocado, honey cream soda float, smoked soft-serve ice cream. Yes, that's a thing. And then 2019 included stuffed cabbage rolls, shrimp and grits fritters, and buffalo chimichanga. All sorts of cool things. And it's also Fort Snelling as well. Some notable people we know: F. Scott Fitzgerald, one of the great novels in the 1920s, and he was the major author for one of the best novels, The Great Gatsby. Charles M. Schulz, who is the creator of the Peanuts and the illustrator for it, and Richard E. Fleming, the World War II Medal of Honor recipient, and he earned it during the Battle of Midway. So, St. Paul. Now we get to Minneapolis. So Minneapolis is actually the largest city in the state, and was historically a marketplace for timber. It also became the middle of the world and such. It's Tigger B65, Calgary Stampede could fight them in the Minnesota State Fair. I believe that both of these are very proud State Fair traditions there, Tigger. I completely agree with you. Minnesota State Fair is absolutely a very important addition. They're both really awesome state fairs. I wish I could visit the Minnesota State Fair. That would be such a cool one to visit. The Minnesota State Fair is a fantastic fair. I definitely want to go visit there. It's really nice. Also, Minnesota's got a proud musical scene, as it's home to both the Gooseberry Theater and the First Avenue nightclub. And one of its most famous people is Prince. One of the most iconic. He is the musical symbol of Minneapolis. Also, the iconic Andrews Sisters of the 1940s called Minneapolis home, and Hubert Humphrey, the name of the old Metrodome. He was from Minneapolis as well. Other landmarks also include Minnehaha Park, the Mill City Museum. After all, it was the home to General Mills. And US Bank Stadium, the new home of the Minnesota Vikings, also calls Minneapolis home. And then we get to the ballparks. So the first one we got to talk about, one of the ballparks in Minneapolis, was Metropolitan Stadium, aka the Met. So the Met was actually opened in 1956 as the home of the Minneapolis Millers, and became the home of the Minnesota Twins and the Minnesota Vikings football team. From 1961 to 1981, it had a seat capacity of 40,000 people, And the dimensions are somewhat asymmetrical, with left field being 343, 365 feet at left center, 402 center field, 370 in right center field, and 330 at right field. So this actually has somewhat different dimensions. And while the ballpark, like many of the other multi-purpose stadiums, didn't have many unique features, unlike those other multi-purpose stadiums, because this was originally baseball made, there wasn't any bad seats for baseball. This actually had great views of the stadium. However, it wasn't so great for football though, because like I said. Now, some notable events of a stadium, they include the 1965 World Series at the Met, the 1969 NFL Championship, which the Vikings won, and Harmon Killerbru's 520-foot home run shot. Now, the most interesting fun fact is actually the stadium site where Metropolitan Stadium laid. Oh yeah, that's home to the largest mall in the United States and the 7th largest mall in the world, the Mall of America. And believe it or not, that seat where Harmon Killebrew hit his 520-foot home run is still at the mall to this day. Oh yeah, Bob Dylan. I forgot. Bob Dylan also grew in Minnesota too, Tigger. That's a great point. That's a great point. I never considered that. Yeah, Bob Dylan. But yeah, there's just a lot of them. The next stadium I'm going to mention is going to be the Metrodome. So the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome, or commonly known as the Metrodome. Oh yeah, Hail Mary, Staubach to Pearson. Yeah, Viking fans will still hate that. Absolutely. The Metrodome opened back in 1982, and it was the home of the Twins from 1982 to 2009. It was originally built, and they wanted to have a new stadium with a dome because the Minnesota winters are quite bad in Minnesota, so they had to build a new winter stadium. It had a seating capacity of 47,000 for baseball, but it was more for football and concerts, for American football and concerts. And the dimensions actually were asymmetrical, with 343 foot in left field, 385 at left center, 408 right field, 367 at right center field, and 320 at right. So the unique features include the white roof. They're used the loud noise because of the dome stadium and the seating for football. It can be quite a loud place for baseball. In the 23 foot tall right field wall, it's known as the baggy, and it used to be, before that, they also used to have plexiglass in the outfield walls as a result. And some notable events include the 1987 and 1991 World Series, which are all-time classics, the Super Bowl 26, which played here in the Metrodome, and the 1992 NCAA Final Four. Now, the most infamous fun fact about the stadium was the fact that the roof once collapsed in 2010. Due to heavy snow and winds, the roof collapsed. In fact, that roof collapse was the pivotal point for the Vikings to eventually get their new stadium, US Bank Stadium, which is their new thing. And the last ballpark I want to talk about is Target Field, the newest ballpark for the Minnesota Twins. It was opened back in 2010. It is now the current home of the Twins with a capacity of 39,000 fans. It can be adapted to play football, American football, and soccer can be played here. Now, the dimensions are actually kind of cool. 339 left, 377 left center, 413 at left center field, and 403 in the right area of center field. 367 at right center, and 328 in right field. But that right field wall is 23 feet high, which is quite high for a major league stadium. I may be watching baseball on my other monitor right now, Tigger. If you like this sort of content, don't be afraid to give me a follow. That would be really much appreciated. If you like more content like this, don't be afraid to hit the follow button, guys. Supporting this channel would be really awesome, and I want to make sure I earn all that follows too. So some of the unique features at Tigger65. Thank you for the follow, man. Greatly appreciated. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. So some of the unique features here at Target Field one of them is the Cascoda limestone. It's all over the stadium. In fact, Cascoda is a local limestone of the region. So they actually put it all over the stadium. There's the Target Plaza at right field, and this is where you can find statues of Twins legends like Tony Leva, Kirby Puckett, and Harmon Killebrew. Double deck tier seating at left field, so you see the double deck seats out there in left field, and a giant Mini Paul logo in center field that lights up whenever a Twin hits a home run, and the two hands shake, which is kind of cool. And probably the only notable event so far was the 2014 MLB All-Star Game, but this stadium has got more to come in the long-term future. So that completes that completes it for the slideshow for today. So that completes our slideshow for today. So we should get to our first waypoint, which is the Mall of America. So for those who don't know about the Mall of America is actually a very massive mall. It is actually massive. So fun facts about the Mall of America, for those who don't know. The Mall of America is pretty huge. It has 520 stores in it. It has four floors on the east and south wings of the mall, and 3 on the northwest wings. And overall area, it has around 7 to 8 million square feet of over 8 million square feet of floor area. In fact, what's really cool is the fact this thing not only has an aquarium, but also it has its own indoor theme park called Nickelodeon Universe. And one of its unique artifacts is actually the red seat that commemorated Harmon Killebrew's massive 520-foot home run. And there's plaques all over where Metropolitan Stadium once stood. So let me give you a picture. Let me show it to you all. What I'm talking about. No, that's not it. Actually, let me show you some pictures. Okay, let me do this properly this time. Here's where Metropolitan Stadium once stood at the Mall of America. And let's get over here. Try to find Harmon Killebrew's 520-foot home run. There's the home plate of Metropolitan Stadium. And there is that red seat. It's still there. That red seat where Harmon Killebrew hit that 520-foot home run is still there. At there. So there it is, that 520-foot home run, that massive home run moonshot by Harmon Killebrew. It's still there, which I think is really awesome. I think it's a really awesome way to honor the old stadium. Now, in the sim, the Metrodome is not standing, but US Bank Stadium wasn't constructed yet. And this is, and I'm going to show you what US Bank Stadium looks like for those who've never seen. I've been to West Edmonton Developmental Halls, but not the Mall of America. Yep, that's cool. Yep, and then we'll give you, and this is US Bank Stadium. This is the home of the Vikings, and it's a really awesome stadium as well. It's got that really nice look. This is the exterior, which is really striking with all that glass. Apparently, all that glass also opens up when it's warmer, and it closes when it happens. And this is what the stadium looks inside. And it's all transparent. All of this is transparent at US Bank Stadium. So for those who've never been there, if I ever did an NFL series, I would cover more of it. But it's such a really nice stadium as well. And it took them a long time to get the stadium constructed. So let me close this up. So US Bank Stadium was actually opened in 2016 at a cost of $1.061 billion. as well. It took them a long time. It also hosted the Super Bowl 52 as well. It hosted the Super Bowl in 2017. It also hosted the Summer X Games in 2017, 2018, 2019. And of course, this was also where the Minneapolis Miracle occurred as well. So definitely very interesting. If I ever did more of an NFL series, I know there's a third-party mod that has US Bank Stadium. That's on Flight Sim TO. If I ever did an NFL series, I would actually download it, and I'll show you guys what it might look like for the sim. But yeah, US Bank Stadium, really nice. In addition to that as well, the University of Minnesota baseball team actually plays baseball games at US Bank Stadium, which is actually really cool. Which I think is really cool, the fact that Minnesota Twins, Minnesota Gophers baseball. And speaking of Minnesota Gophers baseball, Minnesota Gophers, we're also going to fly over TCF Bank Stadium, home of the Gophers football. So we're going to make a visit there too. How many baseball stadiums have you watched in real life? Have I watched or visited? Okay, in terms of baseball stadiums, I visited Louisville Slugger Field. I visited there. I visited there twice this year. That's usually the main ballpark. It's in Louisville, Kentucky. Let me get Louisville Slugger Field. I visited. There. This is Louisville Slugger Field. This is my local baseball stadium. I visited there plenty of times. It's a really nice minor league ballpark. Right on the bank of the Ohio. That's Louisville Slugger. And then for major league ballparks, I also visited Great American Ballpark. Next is Great American Ballpark. I visited there twice already. Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Allison Johnson's been there as well. She's a great content creator. She's visited the Reds. In fact, the Reds are her favorite team. And then the last one I visited, the only other major league ballpark I visited, is Tropicana Field, actually, in St. Petersburg. That's going to be a future episode. After I get done with my Midwest tour, I would actually go south and southwest. And this is the Trop. Now, I know it's not the nicest stadium in the major leagues. It's actually currently the major league's smallest stadium. But if you ever be around for the Tampa Bay series, this is actually one of the more unique features. Yes, yeah, the Reds. The Reds this year are doing pretty well. They're in the wild card hunt. I'm hoping they make it. But yeah, this is one of the unique features of the Tampa Bay Rays tank. I'll talk more about detail about it. But that's the Rays tank, owned by the Florida Aquarium at Tampa. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done. I think we're approaching our first destination pretty soon. And all of this is happening. In fact, our first destination is actually going to be right next to the airport. That's the Mall of America, and also the site of what was once Metropolitan Stadium. The old Met. And trust me, this mall's going to be really big when we're going to fly over it. It's a huge mall. It's a huge mall. Then we're going to fly over Target Field. Then US Bank Stadium, where the Metrodome once stood. There's also the Lowry Avenue Bridge, and that's actually in game POI. I forgot that the Lowry Avenue Bridge is actually a POI in the sim. I forgot that they just added it as an in-game POI. Then once we visit there, then we'll head to the University of Minnesota, and we'll finally make our way to St. Paul and land at St. Paul downtown Holman Field. So that's kind of, let me pull that map up. So that's our plan. Head to the Mall of America, Target Field, US Bank Stadium, we're going to fly over there. University of Minnesota at TC Bank Stadium, home of the University of Minnesota, and go all the way to St. Paul and land in Holman Field. And yeah, we're going to also visit the St. Paul Saints. So we're going to give them a bit of a visit too. So that completes our flight, the rest of the leg. The only Tigger Exhibition Stadium. That stadium is terrible. That's one of the worst. That's maybe even be the worst stadium. Let me go. Let me go ahead and get. I got picture. I'll show you why I think it's such a bad. Yeah. That stadium is terrible. Let me pull up a picture and I don't think it's gonna be a question why. Yeah, okay, let me tell you why it's bad. First, you have terrible seatings. Because this was originally for Football Mind, the seating grandstands, apparently, in one of the areas, it's like 800 feet for fans from home plate. So you could barely even see people. Then you have to deal with the wind and cold because it's right next to Lake Ontario. And snow was a huge issue. It also had issues with fog. Then there's the whole seagull stuff. Apparently Dave Winfield once killed a seagull. And the worst thing was back in 1982 during one of the Grey Cups, the 70th one in particular, from what I've known. And fans have been really wanting a dome. And thank gosh the Ryder Center was built. Thank God the Sky Dome was built with a retractable roof. Thank God. Thank God. Like, say what you want about the Sky Dome when seating, at least there's a roof to cover over your heads. I'm happy the Jays are finally back home. I know. It's kind of weird seeing playing in their AAA affiliate stadium in Buffalo. It's still kind of weird. But on the other hand, might be one of the best things you can convince people that Buffalo can support a Major League Baseball team. I hope they fix the issue with the disappearing aircraft. I know. They need to get that fixed. I can see you on my right there, Martel. There's also Fort Snelling, too, which is Fort Snelling State Park. The historic fort. I'm impressed that we're doing really well with the 8 viewers we got. I want to thank everyone who's on the stream today. Thank you guys so much for being on with me for the stream. So I know recently they added the F-14 that looks very exciting, and they're also Carenato's also coming out with their Skymaster, which is really unique. I never seen. I wonder how they managed to do a push-pull plane in the sim, because the Sims never had such a thing like that before. So I'm just curious. So, if you guys want to know what's going on next week, so next week, do you use multiple screens? I do. I have a laptop over here that is for my game. I have my gaming laptop, and then I use a second monitor for my OBS and for all my internet stuff too. But I do have 2 monitors there, Martel. That's a good question. Yes. Let's sit in the back of this seat as we fly to the Mall of America. I mean, the visibility gets much better when you're on the side. And I think we're good to, and I think that's St. Paul to our right. I believe that's some of the buildings for St. Paul. There's St. Paul to our right. There she is. Beautiful city of St. Paul. Let's get back to the... But there's... I think we see the Minneapolis airport. This is the largest international airport in Minnesota. We don't have much more to get. Like, Minnesota would be really good to do some bush flying. I mean, you have all the lakes in Minnesota. Plus, you have places like Duluth to do some bush landings. Lots of areas. Minnesota is a beautiful place, and there's a lot of really cool areas in Minnesota as well. We should get to the Mall of America pretty quickly. There's the international airport right over there. Martell's here. Alec D. So our first stop will be once we get across the river, because the Mall of America is right next to the airport. It's right next to it. I'm not kidding. It's now the question is who to raid after I get done with this streaming. As soon as we get this on time, I think the most optimal raid would be we would raid Colonel Fork for his first stream, taking the big O DC-6, probably one of the Thunder buses from a proud Thunderflies of the Two-Tone Murphy community. I never really played much of FSX back in the day. I know the last one's been Flight Sim 9, but the problem is I never had a computer power mount to play it, Tigger. But here's the Mall of America. If you want to learn about the grand, massive size of that mall. There she is. There's the Mall of America, guys. It's as massive as it looks. It's massive. All that floor space, all that height. That is the Mall of America, boys. This thing is humongous. It's actually photogrammetry in the sim, but guys, look at the size of that. That is just. I mean, let me go ahead and pause this. This is the Mall of America, boys. This is where Metropolitan once stood, and now this is where it's at now. The Mall of America. It's got over 500 different stores, all throughout multiple floors of the mall. In fact, you might have to visit her multiple days. You might have to take multiple days to visit this mall. It's huge. Captain Seppi's in the house. Hello, Seppi. Good to see you. Give him a follow. He makes great content. He just recently completed another one of his legs of the Pan Am journey from Kent Island to Fiji. I'm doing well. We're in Bloomington. We're gonna be heading to Minneapolis, and we're overlooking the Mall of America. They're built onto it. I know this thing's gonna get expanded even more. This thing is just massive. The Twins? Yep, the Minnesota Twins. But we're overlooking the Mall of America now. This is where Metropolitan Stadium once stood. But yeah, this is just massive. Now I need to go back into the cockpit and change my position. 349. Let me go ahead and do. I usually pause it. I usually go to active pause so that way you all can see in greater detail of all of the sort of things. Very cool. The Mall of America is massive, like 500 plus stores. It's Yeah, it's a huge mall. In fact, the fact is, the Mall of America is only, I don't know, the 7th largest mall. There are actually malls even bigger than the Mall of America. The largest sort of mall in the world, believe it or not. In fact, the South China Mall is the largest mall in the world. And this mall it was opened in 2005 with an area of around 659,612 meters squared, or 7,100 million square feet, and that thing has over 2,350 shops, which is just massive. Which put it in perspective, it's like 2 million square feet more than the Mall of America, so it's pretty massive. There's an IKEA. Yeah, there's IKEA stuff in the United States, but IKEA is mostly in Europe. And the reason there's IKEA in Minnesota, like, too, is because of the Scandinavian heritage. So here's downtown Minneapolis. There's beautiful downtown Minneapolis. Also featured around here is the Target Center, which is actually just across the street. Actually, I can disable autopilot. Let me go ahead and look over Target Field for a bit. Target Center is located right next to it. That's the home of the Minnesota Twins. Not the Twins, I meant the Timberwolves actually play there. The basketball team that most well known for Kevin Garnett. So let me give you the drone cam here at Target Field. Let me get the drone cam. So this is Target Field. This is featuring that Cascoda limestone all over the exterior. Then once we get, this is from the bullpen. Then we can see the double deck seating in left field right here, the double deck seating. There's the mini Paul statue. It's not illustrated very well in the sim, but that's where the logo things occurred. There's the wall in right field at 23 foot tall. And over here is the Target Plaza, where fans can enter the stadium and walk around and explore a few bits. So definitely some interesting features. It's a nice ballpark. And then there's Target Arena. That Target Center is home to the Timberwolves. And if you want what the grass on the roof, well, the grass on the roof prevents the roof from falling down, and it will save money on ventilation costs, it turns out. And the reason they're both from Target is because the founder targets from Minneapolis, and for them it's kind of actually a local business, if you know what I mean. So much more that grass, I know. There's just so much grass in the sim. But to be fair, I wonder where they took the photogrammetry. There's downtown Minneapolis. Definitely a very nice city to be in. There's the U.S. Bank Stadium down below us. We're gonna go below. There's U.S. Bank Stadium. That's down below us. The home of now the home of the Vikings. Skol Vikings. Yeah, Minneapolis is beautiful. It's such a nice city. There's TCF Bank Stadium, home of the Minnesota Vikings. No, not Minnesota Vikings. Actually, the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, because we're flying over. Yep, University of Minnesota. We're flying over there too. There's TCF Bank Stadium to our left. There she is, TCF Bank Stadium down there. The Vikings used to play there for a couple years before Target Field was built. We're almost at the airport, so we're gonna actually fly now to the other of the two twin cities. Then we're gonna go land straight in at runway 14, and that should complete our today's flight across Minnesota. So there we go. Flying fast. Yeah, I'm so happy. I mean, imagine having these performance improvements when I did New York or the other cities. Oh my gosh, that would have been amazing. That would have made things even better. But I'm glad that they got the performance improvements. You got all that. I'm just really happy to say about this. So thank you for everyone who's come to my stream so far. I really appreciate. I'm going to go ahead and slow down the plane. I'm going to go ahead and deploy the landing gear. Because we're right next to St. Paul. Right next to the airport. The airport's right next. There's the Minnesota State Capitol, which is down here right below us. And we should be visiting CHS Field, home of the There's Excel Center, home of the. I believe that's the home of the Wild. CHS Field should be below us. And if not, it's probably still under construction. It is. CHS Field was still under construction when photogrammetry. So there is the Saints ballpark. And we're just going to land straight in. So this just lands straight in Minneapolis. And this should land us beautifully in Minnesota. And beautiful landing. That was smooth. That was a really smooth landing. Deploy the and we are down in Minneapolis in St. Paul. That completes our journey for today. For this week's journey. I'm gonna go ahead and get parked. And we're gonna actually, for the trip, beautiful St. Paul's in the distance. There's Martel. He's gonna get ready to get going. Get landed. This was really good. I enjoyed the trip. Like, we got some beautiful country. You buttered it. Thank you so much, Tigger and Splasher. Thank you guys so much. For nearly 3 hours. This was one of my longer streams. But yeah. So, nice flight today, Viper. Thanks. Yep. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the nice words, Splasher. Now, for next week's plans, I want to say that once we get once Martel gets down and landed. I don't blame you. There's another runway. Runway 113 is another one. Nice job, Martel. Great stream. Glad I could join in for a few. No problem, Alec. I'm glad you joined me. Martel's landed. So, guys. So, for next week. So, next Friday, we got a bush flight trip. Backcountry trip. We take low and slow. And I think this one's going to be kept a surprise, but let me give you a hint. It's going to be somewhere on the African continent, because I think it'll be really fun. And then on Sunday, we have a trip. We're going to head to the gateway to the west in St. Louis. We're going to visit Cardinals Nation, give them a visit. And we'll support, and we'll get our way through there. So, I think we know exactly who to raid today. Let's actually raid Colonel Ford today. I think he would be really happy if we go raid him for a bit. Okay, guys, thank you so much for the new follows, the viewers, everyone in the chat, and everyone who's flown with me. Thank you so much for joining me on this trip today. So, take care, everyone, and I hope the rest of your Sunday goes well for all of you. Take care, everyone.
With stops probably closer to 6. Crispy, you know, it's hot in Texas.